Got the inside. Does Leskala send it deep? Yes, he does. He knows he's going to have to force Rolla a little bit wide, but he leaves him space. Rolla gets the inside, coming down to the Sachs curve, but he's timid on the brakes, and almost a Vettel situation there with Yuko Leskala taking it deep, but somehow he holds on, and they carry on this side-by-side battle. Now into the south curve, and around, still on the inside. Yuko Leskala will not give way.
Here they come on to the front straightaway towards Nordkurv. Someone's going to have to give here. You can't go through this thing too wide. And Yuko finally gives up the ghost and lets Billy go through. But Billy takes it a little bit too deep. Yusko's got another opportunity towards the entrance of the Parabolica.
This battle will not quit. Down to the Parabolica entry. He's got the inside one more time. Will the throttle pedal make the difference here coming off the corner? It does seem to for Vili Rolla. He briefly has a nose ahead, but now momentum goes back to Yuko Leskala. It's the long way around the Parabolica, but it'll be the inside coming down into the Spitzkara. This has been an incredible battle. They've now practically gone a full lap side by side here. Down into the corner and smoking the tires once again. Leskala somehow manages to make that shallow line work. Yep, this is down into turn 2. Really wants to cut into that apex, but there is that gray and blue car there. It carries on as it swings back through turn 3. Muirhead gets a little bit of an edge. Excuse me, Boucher does, but now as they come to the left-hander, this is not the place he wants to be. He lifts a little bit early. He still carries the speed through, goes a little wide. Is that one going to count, or is he going to be given a slowdown? It counts, and Boucher is going to move into 10th.
We've got a little bit of a pass going on here. Mies trying to make the move down to the inside here as they go into Cunningham. Side by side with Felipe Loyola. And that is going to be Mies with the nose ahead. Tries to give a little bit of an elbows out move, but now the track is going to favor back to Felipe Loyola. Under heavy braking. Who's it going to be?
We got a battle farther up ahead, and this is Karthik Pai side by side Lino Frisha. Lino's going to be able to get ahead of him. He's going to go for another one. He's not just taking one, but he's too hot in the corner, and that goes into the side of the Texan. And in the midst of it all, how about Ove Trangrade getting 3 spots in a single corner?
But handling it well, did exactly the right thing, came off the throttle, just kept the wheel as straight as he could, ease the car back up on as he comes past the lap traffic here. Scarali, is that Scarali who went off up there? Is he going to get up? It looks like he's going to catch Scarali. Scarali's getting caught up with this lap traffic as Chiquita tries to get around him going through. Oh, nice pass, Mr. Sneaky.
Silverstone's Grand Prix course might be more well-known, but its smaller layouts have allowed up-and-coming drivers to cut their teeth for many years now. Appropriately, iRacing's Formula V should fit right in then as we get ready to watch round 1 of the RTA Virtual Motorsports Formula V Championship. And you'll see it all live here on the Global SimRacing Channel. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth is SRO driver Michael Johnson. Behind the scenes is our director, Zach Johnson, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. While UK drivers likely know this place inside and out, let's head off to our track guide to get a little introduction for what it has in store. Welcome to Silverstone. Most famously known for being the first circuit to host a round of Formula One, this place has since become synonymous with British motorsports. Hosting everything from sports cars to touring cars to open wheels and even motorcycles, it's a track that fits a wide variety of vehicles. With 5 different layouts to choose from, you've got a little something for any level of racing. The longest of those layouts boasts 17 turns over more than 3 miles or 5 kilometers, so it can take a bit to get around it, even in higher-powered machinery. Its main characteristics are the long straights, swift corners, and general lack of elevation change. Its most famous set of turns is definitely the Maggots-Beckett sequence, in which anything with high downforce finds itself challenged with the rapid changes of direction. While there is a fair bit of paved runoff in quick corners like Copse and Stowe, the time lost from going off can be costly. There's a few turns with opportunities for overtaking, including Vale, Abbey, and Priory, but in cars with less horsepower, expect the slipstream to be where many attempt to get by. The Hangar Straight is perhaps the most notorious for draft battles to erupt. All in all, this versatile racetrack located just northwest of London provides both history in its roots and action on the tarmac. The huge number of British fans that typically attend events are seldom left wanting. Well, there's the overview of all of Silverstone, but we are only on a small portion of it here today, Michael, with the national layout. What is it going to be like in the Formula Vs?
Well, it's going to be a draft fest. That's the easiest way I can explain it. When the cars come out of left field, you put the pedal to the metal. You try to put your foot through that firewall, and you're going to go all the way through Woodcote, all the way through Copse, all the way down to Maggots without lifting. Now, this will give really interesting passing opportunities going into Maggots, but there's no extension to Beckett's. You come back around to Aintree, where you head down. A couple of names for it. We're calling it Club Straight today, as that's the old name for it at the time this was more used. And then your next really big passing opportunity comes up into Brooklands. And this is where we're going to see a lot of passing. This is the easiest way, and there's several different ways to get through Brooklands. But you've got to set up right for left field, because remember, you got that long essential straightaway out of left field all the way back around to Maggots. Only 6 turns here, looking at about 1.6 miles. It's a little over 2.5 kilometers, and it's going to be an interesting day to watch how these drivers choose to set up the passes in these 2 main passing locations.
Indeed. Usually when we think little bull ring courses, we don't think slipstreams, but the Formula Vs are certainly their own little thing out here. Now, as for today's racing, it's a very unique format in this series. So let's take a look at the race details. 3 separate heat races that we're going to be running, each different lengths, and they all offer the same points. That's going to be a big incentive to do good in all of them, and especially in the qualifying, which just started here, because that's going to set race 1's grid. Then we have race 2 set by the finishing order of race 1, and then race 3 will be set by the finishing order of race 2. So it's got a knock-on effect all the way down, and there you can see they've got some limits on track limits, incident penalties. 12 incidents will have you drive through. You'll actually get disqualified if you rack up 20, and it's a modern Grand Prix course, so there's lots of places where they could go that little bit wide and pick up those off tracks. Before we get to the qualifying, let's mention that we are sponsored by the Majors Garage. Make sure and check them out. They're the home of free Baseline Plus setups. Get help from any of the garage coaches 24/7. Sign up now for awesome, affordable monthly subscriptions, telemetry, coaching, and more at majorsgarage.com. Simply click our link in the description below and use our special discount code MajorsGSRC for 10% off. Looking at the qualifying session now, Michael, and Brian McManus holding the provisional pole, but by the tiniest of margins. Our timing and scoring doesn't even count it, even though iRacing does have a way to tell the difference. It goes beyond the thousandths of a second, but Jordan Kelly is tied to the thousandths with that number 15 machine.
Yeah, that's the tightest I have ever seen, quite honestly. And sometimes it's done by who did it first, or maybe it does come down to that, who knows, millionth, 10 billionth of a second, because iRacing really does have the ability to control or to see the timing. Just what they display to us is, it sounds weird to say, only to the thousandth.
Yeah. And certainly looks like it's going to be tight as we watch Kelly come back around last time through an improvement and up to the pole. This time a little bit easier to discern. A tenth of a second between himself and McManus, who's actually behind him right now and pulling a toe. So there's that slipstream you were talking about already taking effect on these drivers in the qualifying sessions.
Yeah, and it's interesting to see when do you choose to take the slipstream? When do you choose to take the short line? As we watch them coming around here, they're going into Aintree, kind of from the opposite direction, trying to head down that straight. It's a choice that you have to make. Notice here, he's popped out. He's just over to the left a little bit. Is that a better, shorter line? Is he going to get a little bit of a toe off the guy up here in the red car? Maybe, and just get a little bit too close, sliding up the inside through Brooklands. I think we're going to see a lot of that type of maneuver through the race.
And that did help him. He's 7/10 up on his best lap. Peter McCann, who's got our highest I rating out here from last I saw, unless somebody else new has joined, has popped up onto the front row. So McManus now in third place. Is this going to be quicker? A 1:10.045. Yes, it is, by half a second over Jordan Kelly. The gauntlet is thrown down.
That shows you just how powerful the draft is here. I went out and did some scouting laps early just to see what these guys are putting down, what they're going to be putting up with, and it's challenging without a draft. I was still doing 110s, high 110s through there, but when it came time to get a draft, there was nobody for me because it was a solo session. So it's really interesting to see how much of a boost these cars get just by being right inside that tiny little hole of a draft they're able to get out of the car in front of them.
Actually makes me curious. I'm going back to check Peter McCann's lap to see if he had some help on his. And the bad news for everybody is he only had minimal help on that lap. So that means if the 13 gets himself a partner out there, everybody else has got to watch out, because he is going to probably be lightning quick. He's got about 5/10 to make up on McManus, but that is very possible, getting someone to tow him along. As we now look over at McMullen in the 21, he's getting a pull from Hederman here in the 14, and not sure that he's going to be on a quick lap here. And indeed, it looks like that was an out lap for the 21. So he'll cycle back around and actually go in front down into Copse. He's a little bit offline there. You mentioned there wasn't a lift. Is it fast enough, or the car slow enough? I guess that altered line is still quick.
I think we're going to see some too wide action through there, to be honest. When you're heading out of Luffield, you put the power down. And power is kind of an odd word to use with these cars, because I think they max out at about 51, 52 horsepower in that range. The real deal here is how fast these cars can corner. Those wheels are way out, and you've got your center of mass so tight and clumped into the middle of this car that it goes through corners blisteringly fast. And when you head up to Copse, there is no lift, and you just turn it in and let it go. Just let it rip. There's absolutely no slowing down. The car even accelerates going through there.
All right. Well, as we watch a few more of them head on to the club straights, here comes Jordan Kelly with the fastest lap now, as he ducks it down to a 109.984. But McManus came scarily close to him. It was 600ths between them at the line. So the 99 again still holds the pole, and unfortunately has a little bit of a spin. No, that was Hollywood actually that spun in front of McManus there, and he had to take a tow. So both of them have to pop back in and get their warm-up laps going if they want to get a flyer on the board. The good news is, with just over 1 minute, they got plenty of time to get at least a couple in.
Yeah, I'm taking a look around what's going on. I'm looking at Evan Walsh, who just crossed the line and brought himself up to third. How did he do that? Well, he was right in Peter McCann's toe for the entire lap, just sitting perfectly behind him, as we can see, well, as he pops out here, but just doing everything he could to get the perfect line through everywhere. And is he going to return the favor? This could be a kind of teammate thing going on. Let's give him the tow going down to Brooklands. I would be very happy to have a nice tow like this down there.
And that is actually McCann. That's the 13 that he is pulling along, who has since been bumped down into 5th position. So a lot of people have been able to jump that number 13, but he does not slipstream past him. So I'm not sure that he got the help. And yeah, he's about a second off of his best time right now. So This doesn't look like it's going to be a flyer for Peter this time.
But I think starting this one, he may get it, because now he's had half a lap behind Evan, and, well, now he's pulling out. Interesting. Or maybe he's just trying to maximize his speed and see what happens. But watch as he comes down here, coming into Copse. They're going to roll down, get those left side tires as far left as they can, look to the right, grab a little bit of this inside curving. There's a lot less there in this version. This is the older version of the track. But notice how much he's catching up right now. Catching up super fast as he comes down into Maggots. Got to get on the brakes to get the car brought around, but it's not a lot of brakes at this point. Time to get back on the throttle, use as much of this as you can get away with, and hammer down all the way to Brooklands.
Thing is, I think he lifted, and yeah, he's given another lift, so he's not going by. He's got a perfect partner here, but he's not using it. I'm kind of confused as to what exactly Peter's doing, and he can't bump draft with him. Not that it's terribly easy to do that in these Vs, because you can see they do not have square fronts that'll line up. So I don't know. I'm not sure what he's getting at here.
He may have caught up to him a little faster than he thought he was going to. Notice how he went really wide and preserved as much momentum as he could as he came around left field. Now we go past Woodcut. Got to remember to cut the wood at Woodcut. Flies down here. He's got this momentum now. He's right in the draft. He's going to manage it as he just dips the nose out a little bit to not get caught up too quickly. But let's see what happens as he tries to head his way down the straight into Maggots.
He's got plenty of speed, and no, he lifts again. And Peter clearly has good pace here. He could have a lightning fast lap. Oh, as his teammate is going to spin off in front of him. Well, now he's not going to be lifting. And it looks like he's going to get a little something from Tony Stack up in front of him in the number 8. So let's see. Right now he's at about a 10th up of his quickest time, but it's not coming down. So I don't think he's going to be all that much quicker if he does improve, and he gets shuffled down to 6 because John McMullen now goes into that P5.
Yeah, maybe now that he's got Tony Stack in front of him a little bit farther ahead, he's going to be able to get a better toe. But the problem here is the toe is insanely effective, especially as we saw back earlier when he was running along with Walsh. But if you get too close, you have to lift, because coming offline to get around him is totally going to spoil your lap. So you almost need a lead car, and then your tow partner, and then you to make it work as best as you can.
And, well, he weaves it off the track, and that's it for his qualifying, as Peter McCann does not have the time to get back out and start a flyer. 30 seconds left. And a few of them are going to make it to the line to try and start a new one. Kilbride, Murphy, looks like Parks and McMullen. One with Sean McCallion, who's our only driver who has not set a time yet. So this is going to be important for him to come back around side by side across the line between McMullen and Parks, as Rob now gets in behind him. Unfortunately for McCallion, looks like that last lap did not count for the 12. So unless he gets one in here, he is for sure going to be starting from 21st. And, oh, just like that, qualifying ends, and usually they get to run out the laps, but it looks like they did not this time. So let's go through our starting order. It's Jordan Kelly on the pole. Brian McManus starts second. Evan Walsh, P3. And Sergey Graboon in 4th. Then you've got Johnny McMullen in P5. Andrew Murphy, 6th. And Peter McCann, P7. Johnny Hollywood starts in 8th. It's Brian McCarthy in 9th. And John McDonald rounding out your top 10.
On row number 6 in P11, we've got Ronan Hederman with Adam McCauley, Emma Dempsey bringing in P13 alongside Danny O'Keefe, Ben McClory, David Freeman, Bob Parks, Sebastian Scholten, Tony Stack, and Jimmy Kilbride round out your top 20.
McCallion did not manage to set a lap, but he will be gridded at the back of the field. So 21 cars. And it is a standing start here, so we should have everybody out pretty soon, I have to imagine. And it looks like that may have been our last person there. McManus on the front row that had to put himself out there, unless we're still waiting on Hollywood and McCallion. Yeah, looks like McCallion's not out there, but Hollywood is. And cars already raring to go out here. Quite a hot day on the track surface itself at 103 Fahrenheit, 39 Celsius for the metric folks, with very little wind to speak of today. So with that, as we wait for that last car to put himself out there, now McCallion is on the grid. The engines start to rev as the lights come up. It is only a 15-minute race here, and the green flag is out for it off the line. Not a good start for third place Evan Walsh. He's already going to lose that position to Sergey in the 18. And what happened to Kelly? Did he miss a shift? He's already falling backwards, and McManus is going to take the lead by the time they get to Copse.
Ooh, good run through Copse here, especially from that standing start. There is absolutely no reason to lift. This is where you're trying to set yourself up to get into position to go around Maggots through Aintree and make the run down to Brooklands, where I think we're going to see our first set of really good passes, although a nice run up the inside. Now in P3, Johnny McMullen makes a beautiful run up underneath to slide himself into third place.
That's Sergey just in front of him in the 18, and he's already going to use the slipstream to go off the left-hand side. That's going to be the inside coming down into Brooklands, and look at them fan out. They just look minuscule on that very wide straight. Up into second now for Johnny McMullen, who started this race in 5th position. He is on a tear, and we're only on lap 1.
Wow, making it that far, that's definitely a great hard charger. Although I think looking back in the field, we've got some who've made it up 5-6 positions. Tony Stack made up 6 positions, but he's not in a podium position right now. Sticking here with Johnny, watching how he's just slicing through traffic, doing a beautiful job to stick in that McManus slipstream to try. Let's see if he's going to set this one up for Brooklands too. He's done a beautiful job on that opening lap. Oh, looks like he's trying to get up the inside and make a wider entry as we come into the corner around our Aintree's right up on his tail.
Oh, but will that hurt his run? That's the question. He ducks out to the left-hand side, and will he be able to do again for a second time what he did last lap? He's got a challenge behind him, because it looks like Jordan Kelly has even better momentum. We're 3 wide for the lead on lap 2 down into Brooklands. Kelly, the long way around, starts to fall backwards. McMullen through the middle, McManus in the middle retains the lead. McMullen falls back to 3rd potentially behind them. Peter McCann starting to get involved. He almost makes contact with the 21, but they get out of it with all cars still rolling.
Yeah, McCann being smart. He's going to be one of your more experienced drivers here. Very high I rating, knows what he's doing. He sees a battle forming. He does not want to be a part of it. He's trying to stay back just enough to let them mess each other up and then come sliding through. Notice as he heads through Copse right here, he totally closes up that gap, starts to make the look down the left side. Oh, is he going to squeeze through the middle here? Better to wait. I think he's going to wait on this one.
Oh, 3 by 2 into Maggots, though. This is incredible stuff. Kelly is now your leader as McMullen moves into second. McManus gets shuffled down to 3rd. Behind him, it's still 2 wide between McCann and McCarthy. This is frantic stuff, and the slipstream is making it an absolute wild card.
Yeah, this is kind of crazy watching these guys. The slipstream, like you said, it is a wild card. How are they going to use it, and how well is it going to work? As we watch just there, Johnny McMullen doing the best he can, and Evan Walsh got a nice little peek up the inside there, but can't quite do anything with it. Time to save that momentum and get it going down the straight to Brooklands.
Boy, I just covered a Daytona 500 on Sunday, and this is becoming that, plus a few right turns chucked in. Look at this front pack. This goes down to Brian McCarthy in 8th position, but they are all clumped together. A little bit of a look at a 3 wide from McMullen, decides against it as they come in through Copse. Maybe setting himself up a little better here down into Maggots, knowing he has a chance to try and outbrake McManus. He'll get the inside as it veers off to the left, but the braking is for the right-hand corner. And as they start to hit the binders, it looks like McManus is not going to be able to hold McMullen back, but he'll have a chance to try and fight him along the club straight.
heading down Club Straight. Now, as they were heading into this, there is not a lot of time you spend on the brakes through that. These cars can corner so fast as we watch them go 3 wide coming down into Brooklands, into just a very light touch of the brake, bring the car around, try to close it up, just intimidate a little bit on your opponent as best you can. But the way these folks are going, I don't think intimidation is the key for the day.
No, it's going to take a lot to shake somebody out, I think, here, because everybody's got the bit between their teeth as they once again start accelerating over 90 miles an hour past the start-finish line. And we're going to get another 3 wide, this time into Copse, maybe. McMullen to the inside, and he is going to be able to sneak ahead as in the middle. McManus cuts back across to use the over-under, tries to find the inside, can't shut the door in time. It looks like McMullen is going to have to give way. McManus is now got the desired line into the corner. Can he carry the speed off? No, the car is to his outside once again. McMullen, a great shot off the corner.
Yeah, McMullen doing a nice job to try to pinch him in there. Not doing anything wrong, but doing everything right. Trying to keep that position. As you notice, he kept ahead of him. However, look at that. Jordan Kelly sliding up, trying to make the most of the curve as he comes into left field, gets a little bit too wide. Oh, takes out a bunch of cones. Oh, how long is he going to carry a cone with him?
He's got a cone friend yet again. And as he comes off the corner, he's a little slow. Another touch of the dirt, and McManus is going to be able to sneak back into P2. But right now, McMullen is your leader. Cone friend still hanging on as they come up to Copse Corner. And unfortunately, it's on the right-hand side, and it's a lot of right-hand turns. So I'm not sure he's going to be able to rid himself of it very soon.
He might have to turn that car. Oh, what? There it went. Oh, finally. Yes, there it went. Oh, sometimes the cones can be an interesting part of the melee there. So as we watch, oh, this is a nice run. Look at him try to hold off that rush from the outside. Gets the power down. McMullen just is not letting these guys go. He decided at the beginning of the race he was going to run up here, and he's just not letting them back past.
And Kelly had to weave across, almost making contact there with McManus for a quick second. Thankfully, he had enough space, and blinking's not the thing that they want to see. In the middle car, McMullen having some connection issues. Thankfully, it looks like that is solidified. But now it is McManus up to the front as Kelly tries to hold off McCann. McCann now up into P3, and we have an incident. This looks like in a maggots.
Yeah, that was an interesting, looked like a little bit of a slide and then maybe some target fixation or possibly just nowhere else to go. But the David Freeman's car is really not supposed to be at that angle. You generally don't want to drag the bottom of your car along as you're working your way back to the pits for a repair.
Yeah, that started with Rob Parks, who had a spin in front of Freeman, and he couldn't avoid him and ran into him. But we're staying up here at the front where all the action is, as we're once again 3 wide, down at a maggots, and off the corner. He wants to track out, but Kelly has no place to go. We're almost 4 wide now to the inside. I think that is, it looks like McMullen.
It's hard to tell. These guys are just absolutely making a line across the nose and then trying to set themselves up for the best positioning at one of the multiple lines to come through Brooklands. Oh, and we've got an incident.
I figured that was coming eventually. It couldn't last forever. It was McCann and McMullen, 2 of our very fastest drivers in that group, and that whittles it down to 6 now.
Yeah, 6 drivers up front. Right now, McManus is out front. He's got Kelly close behind him, and right on his tail is Evan Walsh trying to make the most of it. Oh, but watch here as we watch Jordan Kelly just peek that nose back around to the front, goes through the corner, decides, nope, I want to lead this half of the lap, but this is going to change. Just watch. It's going to change once we come back around Aintree one more time.
I get the feeling Andrew Murphy might be the man to watch because he's just kind of hanging back there, 6th in this group, and he's kind of letting them fight. He can gain up on them anytime he wants, essentially, as long as he doesn't get caught up in a wreck that's happening in front. So
Well, he just made up 2 positions by not getting caught in that crash.
Exactly. Yeah. So I'm starting to think he's just biding his time. He's got maybe about 4 more laps here, and then it's going to be checkered flag time, and maybe he'll start to attack as they come around Luffield. Up at the front of them, it's McManus. They're approaching a bit of lap traffic. Sean McCallion up in front of them soon.
Yeah, that's going to be a little bit of a draft help to whoever decides after. I think by the time we get back around to Brooklands, we're going to see this close up, maybe even a little bit earlier on the run down to Brooklands. It's going to start to make a difference. So the person who chooses to be out front here is going to get some help from the draft opened up by that lap traffic.
Kelly and McManus, your 2 up at the front there. Still vying for the lead, looking to see who can break deeper down into Maggots and back onto Club. They got a spinning car, and McCallion thankfully off to the side and out of the way.
Woo! My heart was fluttering on that one, watching that go around as he spins the car back around and gets back into line to try to get the rest of this race done. Now, if we go back and take a look at the front, we've got 2 wide coming into Brooklands now. 2 wide is probably the fewest we've had in several laps as we got a little bit of an over-under. That was a beautiful over-under by Jordan Kelly as he made it from the outside back to the inside so he could be in the better position to come around Luffield and get the slingshot momentum, trying to come around through Woodcut and make it to the start-finish line first. But looks like he gets caught up in just a little bit too much air.
And Walsh is boxed in. We're riding on board with him. No place to go. That means behind him, it's going to be, guess who? Andrew Murphy. He's decided now's the go time. A little bit of contact, and that's going to spin his rival around. That was Walsh, who is now the latest victim of the chaos of this style of racing.
Oh, this has become a really interesting race. It does feel like a little bit of backwards NASCAR, going the opposite direction, going clockwise instead of counter. But there is a lot of that feel. There's a lot of sit in the draft, sit back, wait for your chance, wait for that opportunity to present it itself. But like you said, Andrew Murphy sitting back there in P6, he's now in P4. He's just waiting for everybody to crash out so he can make it as a solo run to that final lap.
And the good news for McManus is he's got that gap back to them now. That little schlemazel is exactly what he needed to try and break the slipstream. It's about 9/10 of a second. So Kelly's still going to feel it probably here in these next couple laps, but it's oh so critical that he not have a slow one.
Yeah, McManus's best lap, though, he just turned a 1:10.8. He was a little over 1:11, like 1:11.04 or so earlier on. But now that he has nobody around him and he doesn't have to compromise any of his lines, he can put the car exactly where he wants it. He can define the battle behind him. There's a thought of driving your mirrors. This is a good use of driving your mirrors. See what those guys are doing back there and place yourself where you want them to react.
Well, let's see if he's able to break that slipstream from Kelly. He's going to hold off to the right side. No weaving from the 15. Kelly within 0.8 of a second now, and he is pulling him in. It's not a huge rate of knots, as behind them it's still a battle for third. That's McCarthy and Murphy. Murphy with the advantage to the inside in the dark number 17. McCarthy in the white with the red nose. He's going to drop back. It came down to about 0.6 of a second by the end of the straight for Kelly.
Kelly doing his best to just hold on. He's trying to do anything he can to pull away from Murphy, who's now up into the final podium position, P3. Doing a nice job sitting in the catbird seat, letting everybody work their way out. Now it's time to make hay while the sun shines. Speaking of Jordan Kelly, a 1:10.306. He really wants to catch McManus.
And that was the fastest lap of the race yet here in this first heat of the afternoon. So as they come down into Maggots once again, he's got it down to 0.4 of a second. It'll be an even more powerful slipstream, and a big mistake coming through the corner from McManus. He's slow off of it, and now Kelly could even be in the lead by the time they hit the brakes.
Coming down here, watch as he just closes this gap even tighter and tighter. Now under a tenth of a second, trying to look to the inside. A light dab of the brakes as he comes into this corner. Gets just a quick downshift back to throttle. Holds that inside, wants to maintain as much momentum as he can to be the very first car to cross. And this is probably going to be our white flag lap.
It is, and that makes me wonder, does he want to be in the lead? And he holds off the left-hand side. Is this intentional? Is he letting McManus go right back through so that he can try and have the advantage down the club straight? I think he might be the wise one in this situation here, Michael.
Yeah, test those waters. See if you can make that pass. See if you have the ability to make the run. As we see, oh, there's overlap there. We almost had tires touching at that point. He's got to figure out, can he do it? I think he may be pulling the trigger a little bit early here. He needs to leave McManus out front. Does Jordan Kelly just tucks in behind him to make the run around through Aintree, down the Wellington or Club straight as we head towards Brooklands? Oh, this is going to be an exciting finish.
He's got a good run, but it looks like he's starting to stall out and coming back at him. McManus almost tries to pinch him down, comes back to the racing line. They both try to open it up as wide as possible, almost banging wheels through there. McManus cannot get the advantage. Kelly is still ahead. As long as he is solid off of Luffield, this might be his race now. And indeed, it looks like Jordan Kelly has this. Is this enough slipstream for McManus? He's going to follow him all the way to the line. He's actually gaining some. This could be close. He could be right back by him. Down to the line. It is going to be Kelly who takes the win of race one.
Woo! Kelly makes a beautiful holding maneuver as he goes through Woodcote there. Keeps McManus right behind him, but there he was. Murphy pulls in P3. We watched him early on, just watching everything unfold in front of him. Beautiful job holding out for the third and final spot on the podium.
Cars trickling across, and for Johnny McMullen, unfortunately, who started from fifth, I don't think he's even going to get to see the checkered flag on this first one. And the last of them heading across the line now with only 20 cars, 19 cars finishing. There you see your order at the end of the first race. And so this will inform the starting order of the next race as well, with McCallion being the last one to see the checkered flag a lap down. And we are heading right off to that next one here in just a second. Very quick turnover here in heat racing on iRacing. And the next one, we'll see the likes of Kelly on the pole, with McManus starting second, as we saw, and Murphy starting from third. And everything that you saw on your screen was the remaining starting order. Okay. So that gave us a feel for how it goes now that we've been racing. Let's see if anybody tries to do it differently. Let's see about some of those drivers who are starting from the back, who clearly have a lot more speed, what they can do with it here today.
They're going to need to do it in 10 minutes instead of 15 this time. That's a good chunk shorter. That's several laps. We're looking at that 1 minute 10 range for the laps. I think our fastest was low 110. It's going to be tough to make a good push. As we started seeing things unfold right at that 10-minute point in the race.
And it looks like, yep, we've got all the cars out there now. So the engines will start to rev as once again for the second heat of the night, the lights come up. Green flag is out. Kelly once again struggling here at the start, this time at the initial phase instead of the second phase like before. And McManus is now up into the lead. Behind him, looks like Murphy trying to cover off McCarthy as they come down into Copse for the first time at speed, but it's very single file.
Yeah, a little bit more control this time. Everyone was trying to assert some dominance in that first race. But remember, some of those folks, some of those drivers have fallen a little bit farther back because of incidents, and now they're working their way through. As we watch everybody try to stack up, and we're looking at too wide as we have one spinner, two spinners through coming through Aintree.
McCauley was the first one spinning there. Looks like he was hit by McMullen, actually. That's no good. And John McDonald was the second spinner to the outside. They do have a spare car if they need it, and I have to imagine a couple of those guys that made contact there will have to come and take it. Oh, another spinner up from the front of the group, and unfortunately, it's going to collect a bunch of them. An absolute mess there.
Oh, that's heartbreaking to watch as they come through that corner. I think Andrew Murphy got caught up in that.
He did.
He was the very first one to spin, and that he did a beautiful job working his way up to get into that P3 and holding it through there. But man, once those cars start spinning, you've got so much momentum and very little grip to try to change your course to get around it. You can either brake and spin yourself, or you can try to go around the outside. There's not a lot of choice you have in some cases.
Well, that was what we were worried about happening in the first race, and we never got the big pileup. But the big one happened here, speaking of NASCAR, in the second heat of the night. And look at what it's done for our leaders here. Kind of an advantage almost for them, Michael, because last time it was 6 to 8 cars at one point. They're on lap 2, and it's already down to 4.
Yeah, 4 real contenders here looking at what's going on. Evan Walsh being the last of those. Big jump back, another 6 seconds to get to Rob Parks in P5. But Evan Walsh, Brian McCarthy, Peter McCann, Brian McManus, they are now trying to decide which one of these 4 drivers is not going to be on the podium. Right now, McManus has got a good hold on it, but don't put anything beyond Peter McCann. He has got some pace to him.
And he's only 8 tenths behind, so we know he can catch up from there. I believe we've got a little bit of an opportunity. Let's take a look at the replays. I believe we're doing the spin on the first lap first into Maggots here that we're going to check out. And again, multiple cars involved in this.
Yeah, 2 wide, and then a couple of single files, and then just trying to carry a little bit too much speed. I couldn't tell if he had any help on that one, but there was definitely a little bit too much speed in there. And again, just that one looked like it had a little help to it, maybe a little tiny tap from behind.
Here's a second incident. That's Murphy that you're going to see lose control through Brooklands, and because he stopped in the middle of the track, yes, it's not a blind corner, but like you said, momentum kept everybody from being able to avoid. And man, even though he did the right thing of staying put, just he kept getting clobbered time and again.
Yeah, just piling on. It wasn't good for anybody. There is no place to go right there. That is the exit, if it were, of that corner. Really the entry to left field. That's all you can do at that point.
All right, little swap around here amongst some of our front runners as McCann has caught and passed Walsh. Hederman is in there. He's a lap down, and McCarthy is still at the back of the group. Another pass for second place once again. McCann and Walsh swapping around. Wonder if they're working together? Well, they won't anymore because Walsh nearly spins. He's going to lose the group.
Yeah, he might have that rear end just a little bit too high. I don't recall if they have open setups here, if they're running a specific setup, but sometimes you get that rear end a little bit too high, and we're talking millimeters. If it gets a little bit too high, the car comes around too quickly as we watch them go too wide into Brooklands here. Getting back into a single file line, trying to put the power down to make that run. As I said before, remember, right here, this is a straightaway. There are 2 bends in it. So you've got the bend right here as we come through Woodcut, cut the wood at Woodcut, and then you head up to Cops. This is all with the hammer down the whole way through.
It might have the bends like Radiohead, but like you said, it is not a corner to these cars. And getting back into line, McCarthy is going to get himself into third. Behind them, Hederman just kind of riding along, hoping to get himself a decent finish. He's actually running in 16th, it looks like, as he sits back there. So giving himself that little bit of extra speed. Now, we've been seeing these little puffs of smoke. Oh, that was a big moment from McCann, and he caught the car and didn't even lose too much speed.
Yeah, nicely done. Good control, good foresight to know what's going to happen. The suspensions on these cars are very soft. Watch when they go into the braking. You're going to see the nose just dip down, probably 1.5 to 2 inches, good 5-6 centimeters.
I was about to say, as they now go through Luffield, we've been seeing all these little puffs of smoke out of the backs of the cars, and usually that's a bad sign for most people. But one thing I love about iRacing, Michael, is they've simulated, apparently the real cars are known for this, when they shift or when they lift, they actually burn up a lot of oil.
Yeah, these old boxer motors, they're just good old boxers, horizontally opposed 4-cylinder VW Beetle motor out of a 1964, 60s era VW Beetle motor. And yeah, with the engine kind of sitting flat like that, when you go to shift, you're going to get a little bit of oil leakage that comes through there, and a little puff comes out. Sometimes a big puff in real life, depending on how hard you're cornering.
Well, right now, these guys are certainly putting a lot of G-forces into them through these corners, and we come back to the 18 now in a little bit of a battle. And this is Sergey and McClory rather, as they come through Maggots. Oh, and he starts to lift a little bit. Unfortunately, the car tries to come around, and that collects both of them. Looks
that
like
might be a little sportsmanship play there. He may feel like he had something to do with the spin. So slowing down, waiting for the other guy. Really well done.
Yep, Sergey is maybe letting him go. There he goes. Now he's going to let Ben on through. So, yeah, great job by the pair of them. And we said it's a quick race at 10 minutes. We're already down to 2 left here in this second heat, as we get a little side-by-side down the front stretch now between 2 competitors. And that is Rob Parks vying with Schulten. Remember, Parks started this race dead last in 21st. He's up to 6th.
Wow, 15 places. That is one heck of a mover through this field. And as we've seen, these folks, when they're driving, everybody's really close. You've got packs of people who all have very similar abilities. And when they're running through this course, you have to really know who you're racing against. But nice job making up 14 positions now.
Absolutely. And into the braking once again, down into, as somebody was off course. I think that was Jimmy Kilbride. That's a lapped car, so that's not for position. Still side by side. Parks around the outside, coming through Luffield, and not able to carry the speed quite like Sebastian can in the 16. One of the few non-UK drivers that we have here in this series this evening. And across the start-finish line, Sebastian going to lead that one. We're 2 to go here.
Yeah, got a little bit of an advantageous position here. He can duck in behind, use that mini draft, get back up to the inside, and have a shorter line to get down to Maggots. I think he's making the most of this, but you got to remember, any little movement of the wheel is going to slow you down as he gets up into the braking zone to come through, and a little bit too much brake brings the whole, 2 of them, both of them bring the car around.
Oh, after such a good run for Rob, he still is in 9th, but just a little too hot into there. That was Freeman and McMullen that you saw go by them, as this is the battle for 2nd now, and this has been raging on since we last looked. White flag is being waved for McManus as he goes by Barney down at the stands, but McCann and McCarthy have not settled it out.
Yeah, they have not. Just heard over the radio, Rob Parks giving congratulations out to his opponent, Sebastian, back there, saying, hey, really good racing. That was really entertaining, guys. Do that again next race. But let's watch this trio right here, 2nd, 3rd, and 4th place. We've got McCann, McCarthy, and Walsh. Now is the time. This is the final lap, guys. Who's going to be 2? Who's going to be P3? And who's going to be wishing they were P2 or P3?
Well, that's actually Hederman in there. That's not Walsh, and I was surprised to see him stick his nose in. Thankfully, did not interfere. At least I hope he didn't way wide off the corner. Maybe it did put Brian McCarthy a little bit off his game. And yes, he's got the slipstream on McCann, but he's way far behind now. That may have been his opportunity gone.
Ooh, that's going to be tough. You get those back markers in there, but watch this. These guys can set up way on the outside over there for the entry into Brooklands. That doesn't exist like that now. You have a little bit of curving now as they come around the final corner trying to make their way to the start-finish line.
And indeed, McManus is going to win our second time around in the number 15. He was oh so close the first time with a second, but he takes victory in heat number 2. McCann will get second place. McCarthy finishes third, with Walsh winding up fourth behind them, just off the podium and ahead of Kelly, our pole sitter, as well. And let's see, where did Parks wind up? Looks like Parks still going to get an 8th place here. Incredible climb from that number 111 car.
Yeah, beautifully done. Up 13 positions, as many as 15 early on, but as racing goes, you kind of shuffle forward, shuffle back. But hey, it made for a great show for us and the fans.
So there you see our finishing order here for this second heat, with McManus, McCann, and McCarthy making up your podium positions. Schulten winding up in 10th today. On to the next slide. A few DNFs out there, as Kilbride did not see the finish, and McCallion, I believe, did not get to there as well. A few drivers one lap down on top of things. But now we get a breather, because we have a 5-minute warm-up that will take place as we head off to that feature, which will be 20 minutes, so much longer. Drivers will be able to re-rack, try and do what they can. It is open setup, I understand, that the drivers will be running. And it looks like we got a few that want to come and talk to us that have this breather now. Peter McCann and Brian McCarthy looking like, or no, that could be McManus. We'll have to double check, as we're going to talk to Peter real quick first. And Peter, a second place this time, a little bit better than the first run. Did you take any knowledge, any lessons from that first race that helped you get up onto the podium this time?
Yeah, we were probably all a little bit too crazy to attack and go 3 wide in the first race, so we kind of took it a little bit easier this time. And I think it pays off to just wait for it all to kind of calm down in the first few laps. I came a cropper to getting a bit of contact in the first race. Actually, my fault, to be fair, for Johnny McMullen. But yeah, it's went a little bit better.
Well, glad to see that, and congratulations on managing to bump up to a second place. That's going to give you a front row start for the feature. How do you feel like that's going to go with an extra 5 minutes compared to the first race?
It should be okay. In testing, we had no issues with tires or anything. So yeah, as long as I don't lose it myself, me and Brian should be able to stay at the top and see how it finishes.
Well,
you never know with these cars.
Best of luck to you. Is there anybody you want to give a shout out to before we let you go?
No, just to you guys. I'm hearing in my ear that the stream is really good. So looking forward to looking back after the race.
Thank you very much, as that was second place, Peter McCann. We do have McManus, Brian, our winner, and Michael has caught up with him.
Indeed, I have. Brian, congratulations on a really nice and very solid finish. Well done. How did that work out for you? Did you feel like you were going to have that big of a gap?
Well, no, I didn't think just until Jordan spun out, and then I just tried to break away from the rest of the gap, and then I was able to manage one there. Yeah, good race.
So were you managing what was going on behind you, trying to keep them, like, deciding who was going to sit in your draft and try to work around that? Or was it just dumb luck that they kept fighting and never caught up to you?
Normally I just try, say the car P3, I try to give them the draft to kind of keep them in a fight with each other so I can break away. It worked out pretty well this time.
Indeed it did. So should we expect a similar position for the next race?
Hopefully, yeah. I just have to manage the tyres on the first 2 laps, get a bit of heat into them, and then just battle in the drafts for the long race.
Well, cool. Anybody you'd like to thank for this win in the second heat?
Just the lads of VRA Racing and RTA for hosting the championship, and yourselves as well, doing a great job.
Well, thank you very much, Brian. Happy to hear it. Glad to hear that you guys are enjoying us. And I think Joe may have Brian McCarthy ready to talk to.
Yes, indeed. The number 10 getting a podium after actually starting there in that second race, because he finished in the same spot. So at least you're consistent, Brian. Can you make it 3 for 3 for 3?
I'll try my best anyway and see how it goes. It's a bit of fun, bump drafting around the place.
It certainly looks like fun. Talk about that last lap, though. Do you think there was some team tactics going on that the lap car?
That back marker there running hit the ball is just, I don't know what he was going to do in the last lap. Looked like he was going to go up the inside there a few times.
We kind of wondered about that because he didn't have to necessarily race you guys, but he certainly didn't seem to help you at all in there. This has been a wild track to kick off the season with. What do you think of the old Silverstone's national layout?
I love it. It's my first time racing it. It's good fun, great fun in these cars. It's close racing around the place, so let's see what happens in the last race now.
Absolutely. Anybody you want to thank for the double podium so far in the first two heats?
No, just see what happens in the last one. No one to thank, really.
All right. Well, Brian McCarthy, a man on his own here today, as he is going to take a third, and that's going to take us to the next race in about 30 seconds. Well, we got some time. You mentioned that this reminded you a lot of a NASCAR race here, Michael, and it got me curious. In all your years in road racing, have you ever tried to put yourself in as a road ringer for a NASCAR race?
I have, and the one time that it happened, the car broke. And we were not able to get out. It was going to be a great run. I was really excited, and then had some pretty big damage that happened to the car. Something happened on the trip to the track. So I wasn't there. It's not even that I went out in practice and spun it into a wall. It just showed up broken. They were scratching their heads, trying to figure out what was going on. And fortunately, I was very close to home, so it didn't really matter too much.
I guess that's always the positive take about it. Pull the Ayrton Senna and just kind of cruise on over to your apartment and crash. But we are now gridding up for the final race of the evening here, heat number 3. And there is your starting grid with McManus and McCann on the front row. And McCann has been looking quite fast, but so has McManus, rather. Almost made a portmanteau of their names there. So it'll be a question mark as to whether or not they will be.
Can you fit McCarthy in there somehow? McManus, McCann, McCarthy. I'm sure there's a way. And two Bryans. It could happen.
McCarthy? I don't know. We'll try it. We'll see what we can. Let's head off to slide number 2 here of our starting order here for today of 21 cars. And Jimmy Kilbride is going to be starting from the back of that group.
Yeah, I'd like to point out Emma looks like she made a really good run that second one. She was around 17th or so as we get to the start.
And the green flag is already out. Very good start for McManus. Not so good for McCann. McCarthy is going to be trying to fly his way up the inside. And a spectacular start for David Freeman, who jumps up a number of positions. And he is going to be able to get into 5th here as we go through Cops. They're starting to sort it out. And remember, all 3 heats pay the same points, but this is your last chance to make them.
Yep, last opportunity to make this happen as we watch this crew just try to get 3 wide, deciding no, let's just go 2 wide this time. A little bit over-under action here, so we got a little bit of motion coming up from the rear side in that in that multicolored car.
Oh, and Tony Stack got involved in an incident. Looks like he made contact with Rob Parks, who's been just snake bit in this race. So we'll come back to that replay in a bit. Another big dive to the inside with David Freeman. More contact here in this group down into Brooklands. And side-to-side contact. Freeman coming into it with Kelly, and it looks like McCarthy all knocked off.
Oh, lucky to not take somebody. Although, as we get into the heart of left field, got 4 spinners, 4 cars trying to make their way through, not quite doing it, and just short of another collision right there, trying to get out of the way, just not quite effective enough, but getting on the irons really quick, although looks like he may have gotten some damage there as we watch him head into the pit lane.
Yeah, he's going to have to take that spare car. Schulten was involved with it. Kilbride, unfortunately, despite starting a tail end Charlie, was collected in it as well. As we come down into Maggots, once again, McManus leads McCann. It's Walsh behind him and Johnny McMullen back in 4th. We get our first break as Hederman is actually running in 5th. So despite finishing a lap down in the first one, he is, didn't he start 16th? Yes, he did. 16th to 5th in 2 laps.
Wow, that's some incredible movement. We've seen each race, somebody has made a huge run up as we watch them come down into Brooklyn. So we've got 1 by 2 by 3 by 3, trying to all slide through there. No contact so far this time as we get into left field, trying to get the hammer down and make their way down towards that first big battle point.
Wow, I can't believe that all worked out amongst them. Look at this. It is still all spread out amongst this group. You have got to be heads up, listen to your spotter, and make sure you do not make a wrong move as Kelly tries to cover off Murphy down to the inside of Copps, thinks about 3 wide in front of him. That's McClory and Dempsey into the corner. Great run by Kelly.
Yeah, on board here with Andrew Murphy, watching him try to close up on I believe that's Jordan Kelly in the red car, getting right up on the inside, but he's in the disadvantaged position, realizes it, backs out, and hopes to catch a little bit of a draft as we go down Club Straight.
4 wide, and somehow they got into there fine. And up at front of it all, Machine Gun Kelly managed to chuck it in, and that shot worked, so he gets the lead. But the slipstream is going to allow McClory to head on through, round the outside. Another 3 wide for the position, and that was Dempsey who was thinking about it, but Emma backed off once again.
Yeah, Emma doing a great job, as I said early on in the last race. She moved up quite a bit to get into that P11, but already up to P8 in this race.
And this is all vying for 6th place in amongst this group. This isn't even for the win. It could be, though, the way things have been going through some of the fields, although they have spread out up at the front. It looks like the lead is still tight. McManus and McCann, you can see on screen. As well, McCann, he said he learned a bit from that first race, and I think he's applying that here. He's not really attacking.
Yeah, I think they realized they, as what looked to be teammates, really need to pull ahead. Because if Johnny McMullen's performance in the previous races is anything to go on, this is not enough of a gap for them to stay ahead of him. Right now, the gap is only 1.3 seconds from McCann back to McMullen.
And McMullen and Walsh hoping that they could try and drag them back by that 1.4 seconds. And poor Ronan Hederman is just sitting alone in 5th place. He might get gobbled up by that huge pack that has just been battling nonstop. And here it is on screen. It is a swarm. It almost looks like a flock of birds.
Yeah, Jordan Kelly leading the way through that. Jordan, as we saw, really capable of putting down some amazing lap times early on. He's trying to pull away from this gaggle that's just looking to attack at any moment they can, as we watch 2 cars going very wide.
Indeed, not sure what happened there. It looks like Ben McClure might be able to get away from that group as well. So it's getting whittled down to fewer and fewer cars. Oh, and a little bit of nose-to-tail contact there. I think that was between Murphy and Rob Parks. Can't believe Parks is already back into 13th after being involved in an opening incident. In fact, he's trying to go the inside route, and he gets a little bit of a touch, unfortunately, from O'Keefe.
Really 2 or 3 good ways to get around into Aintree there as you're coming through that corner. All equally effective. Only about a 1/10 of a second difference in my testing when I was out playing around trying to figure out what the best ways to go were. As we watch them go into Brooklands here, 2 wide, and then another 2 wide right behind them. It's get a little bit wiggly, too much, gets to the outside trying to find the kitty litter.
McDonald, yeah, I almost wonder if there was some ghost contact because the car just suddenly bobbled as he chopped somebody off. So that cost him. Hopefully he can catch back up to that slipstream and get involved once again. Murphy starting to move to the front of the group. Can he maybe separate himself? We've seen him be incredibly quick here as he cuts down to the inside of Copps. That is Graben behind him in the 18.
Yeah, doing everything he can. Emma Dempsey, also part of that little pack, trying to do anything she can. Watch as this group sets themselves up. Right now is not the point to pass. As you're coming out of this corner, not really the time to pass either, but you need to set yourself up to make your way down the straight. As you notice, 2 distinct patterns coming through there. Either take that tight line or take that wide line. Middle line also works okay for your exit, but it's really about the distance and the speed, and can you get into somebody's draft.
Andrew Murphy on the inside, and the number 17 really pinches the entry, but it works out anyways. As Sergey in the 18, no, it doesn't. He goes a little wide off into the grass. Murphy has collected another cone friend.
Oh, cone friend day.
It is. There are plenty of them out here, and unfortunately not able to keep the spot. Sergey moves ahead.
Yeah, that cone could be slowing him down a little bit. I didn't hit any cones when I was playing around, but I have hit cones before, and they do tend to take, it's extra drag. It's going to slow you down. As we see, he's just losing positions. He's fallen back 4, 5 positions now, hoping that cone goes away. I think he finally lost it. Now taking a dive up towards the inside to set himself up. Oh, big crash.
Oh, that collected. Looks like Rob Parks, Andrew Murphy, and Danny O'Keefe. So 3 of them have been removed from the equation. Just a little bit of a calculation error, I think, from O'Keefe. And we got another incident. Looks like Emma got involved in that one. I think she got hit from behind by Sergey, and then unfortunately poor John McDonald had no place to go.
Yeah, so that's a bad day racing. There's nothing you can do. You see the wall coming because your steering went out. You see somebody spin in front of you when you're only half a meter off of them. There's just nothing you can do.
Well, it went from about a 7-car group to now, I think there's 4 of them left here. Yeah.
4 left.
Make that 3. There goes O'Keefe.
Oh. So sometimes the internet is I think the internet is kind of our equivalent of a cut tire.
It can be indeed. So, wow. Okay. Well, no, excuse me. O'Keefe was part of a different group. So no, he was already fallen away from them. So Sergey is left. He's in 8th place. McCleary was running away from them. It was John McDonald and Brian McCarthy. So it looks like, Sergey, McDonald, and McCarthy are the only 3 that remain from that group, and even then it seems to be only 2 of them close together, much like what we see up at the front here as McManus leads McCann.
Yeah, this pairing is really trying to do everything they can to stay away from the pair behind, but much better behaved this time. Everybody's trying to work together. These 2 realize they've got a little under 10 and a half minutes left in this race. That's about 10 full laps if you look at it that way. It's not time to fight yet. So you've got McMullen and Walsh sitting back there also doing the same thing, trying to work their way up here as we watch them going through that first corner, trying to do everything possible to just not turn the wheel at all and get the most speed they possibly can as they head down into the corner, trying to come around, light touch of the brake, back to the throttle, coming through Aintree to make their way back down Club Straight.
And behind them, unfortunately for McMullen and Walsh, they've not been catching up. In fact, you can see them too wide along. They're not giving the slipstream to each other, which is probably part of their issue here, I'm sure. It's up to almost 2.5 seconds between them, unless they've just given it up and decided, let's fight for third instead of attempting to go for first.
Yeah, but with 9 minutes left, it's really not time to fight yet. But if you want to check out an interesting fight, I've been watching in the side view here. I've got Kelly and McClory really going at it. These 2 have been trading places. I swear in the last lap, there must have been 5 position changes between these 2. I don't know if they're working together to try to catch up or if they're just having an amazing battle. But these 2 have just been going back and forth over the last lap or 2.
Well, let's watch for a bit. Let's see if they do swap around easily or if this is a case of actual battling. That's McClure that you see in the green and black checkers, and that's Kelly in the red, who's now blinking quite a bit. And if I was Ben, I would not stay too tight to Jordan, because he could suddenly blink out at an inopportune time just like that. Thankfully, no contact there. And on to the Club Straight once again, pulling the toe down this long, at least in these cars, long straight. He's got a huge run, but McClury's not popping out of it.
Yeah, and it's interesting when you see these internet connection issues just like this when the car goes away. Did the right thing, backed off a little bit, but I have actually had someone disappear just like that was happening and then reappear and we were completely overlapped, and it didn't cause a crash. It's one of the most surreal things to someone who races in real life to have something like that happen, to be inside someone else's car.
Sim racing tries its best to be the real thing, but there's still some things that it does that real racing will never experience, that's for sure. We've lost 2 cars, by the way. Johnny McMullen and Adam McCauley looks like they are already out. Rob Parks might have called it quits as well. And now Andrew Murphy is heading into pit lane, I assume to get another spare car and get back out there. Has a black flag, so this might be a drive-through here, unfortunately, because he has been in the wars quite a bit today.
Yeah, any of that side-to-side contact, you stand the chance of getting a 1X, even a 2X. And with only 12 available to you for the race, you got to be really careful with it. Now, in regular iRacing, you try to get as few as you can because you're trying to keep that safety rating up. But when you get into league races like this, if you've got 12 before a drive-through, that means you got 11 to use to your advantage. So use them wisely.
Indeed, and we have seen drivers try and take that tactic as we now go side by side for the lead. Is McCann finally turning it up with 7 to go, or is he just exploring? As he comes in through Cops, he backs out of it. That looked exploratory to me.
Yeah, just trying to see what the temperature is. How much is he going to defend me? We might be friends, we might be teammates, we might race with each other all the time, but watch as we're going down here. Holds that interesting, just right up on the inside. Gets the power down a little bit sooner, but is he carrying enough momentum? Holding the tight line as they pass through Aintree to head down the club straight down into Brooklands.
And picking the speed up, McCann, despite having the inside into Maggots, didn't have enough speed coming off of it, and he's got the outside into Brooklands, so McManus stays up at the top. We're coming down to, it looks like 6 laps left here, 5 or 6 laps left that the drivers have to run. And across the line, it's up to 3 seconds ahead of Walsh back there in 3rd place. And something happened to McClure. No, it wasn't. Was it Hederman? Yeah, it was Hederman that was with him.
Yeah, no, Hederman wasn't. There was another car with Walsh, the number 21, I believe it was, as something happened and he had to either internet connection, something went wrong, and he is no longer part of that Walsh pack.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out if I can see. You're right, it was McMullen who was with that. So we heard that maybe he had some issues that forced him out of the race. So I'm double checking here. Don't think it was incident limit because he would have had a drive-through. And I think he just lost connection or something. That was very strange. So we'll come back to that in a bit. Is on screen once again, side by side. And this time McCann manages to get the inside and McManus cannot fend him off.
Yep, so McManus and McCann working their way, just trying to test the waters with each other. We've got about a 3/10 gap between them at this point. That is not going to stay there for long. It is really easy with this draft here. By the time these guys get down into Maggots, this is going to be once again side by side, if not sooner, as we head up into, gets overlapped, going into Cops, makes the pass. Can he hold it? Holding on. Yes, he holds it, watching for the over-under in defense.
Thankfully, no Hamilton-Verstappen moment between these two for us as they now break side by side into Maggots and going deep into it. McManus tries to carry the momentum, but cutting under and getting the throttle down sooner. McCann is going to come back at him, and there is some lap traffic coming up in front. Danny O'Keefe in the 22. He could serve as a pick.
Yeah, this is what I'd be looking for right now if I were either one of these drivers. Both of them are very experienced drivers. They know what to do. When you get up into this stratosphere level, 4,000, 5,000 iRating, there are no tricks that you haven't seen yet. And when you notice this car up here in front of you, no matter which position you're in, you are already thinking, you're like a chess grandmaster. You're 15, 20, 30 moves ahead. You know what's going to happen.
Well, right now what's going to happen is McCann is going to go around the outside, or try to, coming into Copse, this time fully alongside as they remain side by side through the corner. McManus is going to hold tough, and he'll have the inside down into Maggots. We still have at least 3 laps to go here, so these guys are absolutely going at it, and there's still plenty to play out through the corner and off onto the long backstretch one more time. Nobody has the advantage this time. It is a drag race in a game of chicken.
A drag race all the way down here, and this is just testing. These guys are trying to figure out who's gonna attack how is the defense going to build, what can I do to counter whatever attack or defense is about to come my way, as we watch them coming around into Luffield with only 2.5 minutes left to go. Time to put the hammer down and make a gap, but nobody's making a gap here. They're not able to. They need to use this lap car in front of him as we watch him weaving left and right, back behind him, trying to fill up his mirrors, get just a little bit of overlap as we head past the start-finish line with the narrowest of margins.
And I wonder if O'Keefe is watching his relative box here to know what is going on behind him, because if they do catch him on that last lap, then he, I would think, doesn't want to become a determining factor in this race and just let them on through. But as we hop on board looking backwards at our top 2, they're actually going to pull a bit of the slipstream off him as well. So that will affect it slightly. And they pick up speed already at nearly 90 miles an hour, starting to stall out as they hit the top of the revs here in this car, coming into into Brooklyn's corner, and on the inside it is going to be McManus who has the initial advantage, but it switches back, remember, here into Luffield. McCann now to the inside on the longer 180-degree right-hander, and they have caught up to O'Keefe. He tries to pull off to let them through, and thankfully they're going to get space.
Giving him space, taking the cut there at Woodcote, trying to do everything he can to not be part of their race. But they still wanted to use him a little bit, try to get a little bit of that draft to help himself out and get through a little bit quicker. But I think he was just too determined to not be in their way.
1 lap to go now. Peter McCann holds the lead. McManus trying to follow as they approach the club straight. Is this bad news for McCann? Is this what McManus needs to do? Hang out in second position? He's a little far back. He's about 4/10 behind. This may have been too much. The 13 has turned up the wick. And as he starts to pull the slipstream, I don't think Brian P. has anything.
There's about a 3-mile-per-hour difference between them, with the trailing car having a little bit of an advantage. Watching them come down into Brooklyn's, closing up the gap, getting as much of that curbing as he possibly can.
McCann may have missed out on the victory in the first 2, but when it came to the last race, he has made up for it. Look at the savvy from the 13 as he crosses here today. The victory goes to Peter McCann.
Wow, what a finish. McManus closing up just a 10th behind him. Coming in 3rd place, looks like it's going to be Evan Walsh trying to make his way around.
Walsh will round out the podium. And we might have a battle. Well, I thought we were going to have one between McCarthy and McDonald, but McCarthy stayed on the track while John McDonald did not, and he is going to have to settle for 10th. Yeah, a lot more attrition that race. Only 15 will see the checkered flag. And oh, poor Emma Dempsey. She just unfortunately spun off in Brooklands and lost yet another position before it was over. That, however, is going to take us to a quick break. We'll come back with the unofficial results as well as driver interviews, so stick around.
This is iRacing, the world's premier online racing game. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat to experience today's newest form of competitive motorsport, virtual racing, all from your home PC. Race virtually in endorsed series from NASCAR, IndyCar, IMSA, the World of Outlaws, Aussie Supercars and more. Take on legendary circuits like Daytona, Silverstone and the Nürburgring. Join iRacing's global online racing community and get on track today at iRacing.com.
Welcome back to Silverstone. We just watched the first round of the RTA Virtual Motorsport Formula V Championship, and the third heat of the day saw Peter McCann take the final win of the event. It was Brian McManus who finished in second as Evan Walsh rounded out the podium. Ronan Hederman with a handy fourth place was ahead of Jordan Kelly, who looked quite fast but was just a little unlucky in the second two heats. Ben McClory finished P6. Sergey Grabin was P7. Then it was Brian McCarthy in 8th and John McDonald in 9th, followed by Tony Stack coming back through to get a top 10.
Our next position, P11, was Sebastian Schulten, with Jonathan Hollywood close behind. Andrew Murphy making up 13th, with Emma Dempsey falling back to 14th after a really nice battle through the end part of the race. Jimmy Kilbride, Danny O'Keefe, David Freeman, Scott McCallion, Johnny McMullen he had to get out a little bit early, some technical issues, we think, and then Rob Parks filling out P20, 10 laps down.
And Adam McCauley, unfortunately, DNFing as well, the last one on the final race. And it looks like we're ready to talk to our winner, Peter McCann. So let's have a chat with the man that said he learned quite a bit in the first two heats. And it looks to me, Peter, like you absolutely applied all that knowledge in the final heat. That was a savvy race.
Yeah, it was one of those times where myself and Brian started the race as being two of the greatest friends ever, and then with 5 laps to go, then we become the biggest enemies you can meet on the track, and it just went my way this evening, that's all.
Well, how much were you playing it down to the last lap? Because you guys had plenty of experience to see what the draft meant, and yet you put it up in the lead coming to the white flag. Did you feel confident he couldn't run you down on the backstretch?
What we had seen was it was tough to make the pass coming out of the final straight, say, where we'd get alongside, but if you were on the inside, you could hold it. So I knew I was safe enough. If I could get onto the back straight ahead by some decent margin, I'd be okay.
And that's exactly what you did. I know all the races are worth the same amount of points, but how important was you to finally wrap up this evening's festivities with finally getting on the top step?
Yeah, the points are all the same, but the feature is the good one to win, isn't it? So, yeah, it's nice to know the pace is there and able to take a win from this evening. It's a good start.
Yeah, I kind of don't blame you. Well, before you head off, is there anybody that helped make this win happen?
I suppose we did a lot of practice. Brian and Evan and Ronan and Jordan. Actually, the way we finished in the final one is VRA team. So congrats to them, and to the boys at RTA. They've set up another Savage Championship. So delighted to be part of it.
Great stuff there from Peter McCann, taking the win here in heat number 3. Up next, we've got Michael talking to Brian McManus's teammate, who tried to fight him for the win but came up short.
So, Brian, really nice start. You took a commanding lead right off the line as you headed out and worked your way down through that first lap. But then your teammate decided he didn't want to do that. Was there communication between you guys to say, hey, let's work together and fight it out at the end?
Yeah, exactly. I just tried to break away at the start, like a really good start. And I think it was like 8 or 9 tenths up at the first lap, but Peter just pulled it back a bit, got into my draft. So after that, we just said we'll work together and we'll pull away from everybody else. So he was just bump drafting me every single lap, pulled a 3-second gap, and I said we might as well start racing now. So we had a bit of a battle for a while, but I tried to leave it on a white flag lap, leave it to jump behind Peter and get the draft in the last lap, but it didn't work out for me. We just missed it. Like, brilliant race though.
Yeah, truly was a brilliant race. Great fun watching you two just going absolutely hammer and tongs with each other. Now, on that last lap, it could have gone either way. It seemed to me like it was just a coin flip. Who was going to take it? Did you have a plan and it just got scuppered, or what happened there right at the end that just got you that on that back foot, not quite there?
Yeah, that's my plan was to stay behind Peter until the back big straight and then just pass him on that. But I was sitting 5/10 behind him and I couldn't just pull up beside him. If I could even get alongside him going into the corner, I would have threw it in, but it just wasn't enough. Peter got the corner perfect, so I couldn't answer to that.
Yeah, it is hard to answer to perfection, but I gotta say, when you're 5/10 back and you finish off only a tenth or so, that's not bad driving. I think you did a very nice job. And for that very nice job, there's got to be somebody you got to thank. Who do you have to thank for this?
Again, I just thank yourselves from the stream, RTA and VRA for the support.
Well, thank you very much. It was a pleasure having you here. It was a pleasure watching you race. And now it looks like Joe Peak has got our third place finisher, Evan Walsh, in the booth with him.
Indeed, Evan, a podium. But let's talk about the first half of that race. Things spread apart pretty quickly, and you and McMullen kind of were the mirror to the McCann and McManus duo up there. Were you two trying to work together? Because it seemed like you kept losing time bit by bit.
Yeah, we were trying to work together a little bit, but it wasn't really working. We were kind of battling a little bit too much because I suppose Johnny probably didn't want me to get away and catch up with me two teammates as well. So we just played a little bit of time over and over again. So yeah.
Well, once he unfortunately had his disconnect, was it kind of just, well, let's consolidate this, let's not push too hard and try and cruise home to a third place in the final heat?
Yeah, there was just no hope of catching the lads without the draft. I couldn't. I'd say maybe a half a second at most. Maybe I caught up when Johnny dropped out, and yeah, that was it. I couldn't do any more than that. I'm just not fast enough to catch them.
Even still, it seems that you found yourself some good finishes here today, a fourth and an eighth place in the first two of the evening. Do you count this a good day for yourself, or do you expect a little more out of you?
No, I'm happy enough with that. First race would have been better. I just I got tangled up a little bit. We went 3 wide into T1, and I came off the worst from it. But no, other than that, it was very good now, in fairness. I wasn't expecting a whole lot now, but yeah. Should be good now for the rest of the championship. The racing is really close.
It looks like it's going to be a ton of fun. Best of luck in the remainder, and we'll see you hopefully when we come to Brands Hatch. Anybody you want to shout out to?
All the VRA lads. Most of them were in the race there tonight, and the rest of them that weren't here were watching on, and yourselves. I need to go back and look at the stream now. I've heard it's very good. So yeah, cheers lads.
Well, thank you for the kind words. That was Evan Walsh, who finished with a third here in heat number 3, the feature. Finally, we've got one last chat. It looks like Rob Parks has caught up with Michael Johnson. Didn't have a good finish to today.
So, Rob, tough race for you today. Not exactly what you were hoping for, but overall, over the 3 races, how do you feel like your day went from race 1, race 2, and race 3?
Yeah, definitely not the way I wanted this evening to go, but that's just racing, and what can you do? The first race was pretty poor from me. I made some silly mistakes in the first couple of laps and just dropped to the back, and without a slipstream in these cars, you kind of just fall away. The second race got quite lucky. Everyone kind of piled into each other at one point, and I made a few spaces to manage to get a semi-decent starting position for the third one. And then coming into the third one, I think I was just unlucky and got caught up in a bit of contact once or twice. So it was unfortunate, but that's the way it goes.
Yeah, racing is racing, as they say. Now, looking ahead, you've obviously got some pace. You're understanding how the movement works with your different opponents here. When we go to Brands Hatch, Brands Hatch next week. How do you feel like you're going to be better prepared for that race based on what you learned in this week's races?
Well, definitely after today with this car, trying to get back used to it after the USF 2000 has been tricky. I've had quite limited testing, trying to run the league and keep on top of everything in the admin stuff, as well as getting some practice in can be tricky at times. But definitely for next week at Brands Hatch, I'm feeling a lot more confident. I'm kind of back with the car now again and getting the hang of the way it moves. And I've got a lot of experience around Brands Hatch. It's one of my favorite tracks, so I'm looking forward to it.
Brands Hatch is a wonderful track. Have you happened to have driven any of these tracks in real life or only in the sim?
Yeah, I've actually driven Brands Hatch in real life 5 or 6 times.
So doing track days, or was it like racing?
Racing Formula Ford.
Oh, wow. So I actually have also raced Formula Ford there. It was
nice.
Long before you probably ever did, but it was one of my favorite tracks for Formula Ford, and is going to be an absolute hoot in these cars, especially heading up to that swoop down that whole back section. It's at least in the simulator, I found it's been absolutely nutso.
Oh, it's magic in these cars as well. Even everywhere in Brands Hatch, I find all the corners just fantastic on iRacing in the Formula V, and it leads to some really good racing. Some of the best racing that we've ever had in this league has been around Brands Hatch.
Well, I want to thank you for bringing us along here to enjoy your league. But is there anybody you have to thank for your race today?
Firstly, just to thank the drivers and everyone that showed up and raced. They put on a really good show today. I think it was a testament to our league, and we all meet up on a Tuesday night for a bit of fun, and the racing was just so good. It was really close through the field and fast. Guys were really consistent and close together, and it was at times wild and exciting as well, which you want. As well, I'd just like to say thanks to Andrew Murphy and Peter McCann, who have been working behind the scenes with me and helping to run everything, which has been massive. And to you guys for putting on an absolutely brilliant stream today. It's been fantastic.
Well, it makes it easy when we have the quality racing you guys have shown us. It's a lot of fun for us to watch it, and we truly appreciate it. Thank you very much. And I'm going to toss it back to Joe to take us out.
Indeed, and a big thanks to all the drivers and the league for bringing us on to cover this race. We'll talk a little bit about our next bit of coverage soon, but before that, I want to mention our sponsor one more time. Make sure and check out the Majors Garage, home of free Baseline Plus setups. Again, we have a link in the description below. Just click that and use our discount code MajorsGSRC to get 10% off. Also, a thank you to the companies that provide the software and hardware for our broadcast, listed here on your screen. And additional thanks to June Lalonde, who provides our wonderful music. Check out her Bandcamp for more great work. Thanks to the team today, Michael, Zach, and Dougie. You can find more info about GSRC at globalsimracingchannel.com or through our social media listed here. And also check out our merchandise store, gsrc.storenvy.com. There's also a link in the description below for that one. While you're down there, make sure and subscribe to our YouTube channel so you don't miss a moment, because as we said, the next time we're covering, it's going to be at Brands Hatch. That'll be Tuesday, March 29th. That'll be the season finale at 3 p.m. Eastern. We have upcoming races for other series listed on the screen, so check those out. Mark them down on your calendar. Up next this evening, we've got the Precision Racing League GT Amateurs at the Red Bull Ring and Detroit, and that's at 8:30 p.m. Until next time, race clean, race hard, and we'll see you on the track.